Alex, the fixtures for the 23-24 season have just been announced. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, listen, you're going to have to play each team twice across the season, so I don't think it has a massive bearing. I think you always look at the start, because obviously you want to get off to a good start, and I think momentum's something you want to build up really quickly. I think you always look at the Christmas period, because you know it's going to be really congested in terms of fixtures, and also obviously the end, because if you do have a successful 3 quarters of the season, I think the end becomes really important, that you try and see it through. So yeah, I think starting with a home game is good, because we want to try and create that momentum. I think ending with a home game is also good. You know, I don't like when you come and you're maybe playing the second last game or the third last game and you're doing a lap of the pitch and you've still got games to play. You know, I don't like that feeling. I like the feeling that when it's done type thing. So I think that's good, that we've got that last home game. And also, I think that away fixtures, in terms of when they are, is obviously important. I see obviously we've got Swansea on a Wednesday evening, like we had last year. So, because they become important, so when you've got a run of fixtures, that the players can get adequate rest to make sure that they're ready to go and perform in the next game. So yeah, I think we're relatively content with what obviously our fixture list looks like.
What's your take on the makeup of the Championship this season?
I think Gareth Ainsworth was talking about it there a couple of weeks ago, but there's a lot of big clubs in the Championship, and when you mean big clubs, not only rich in history and obviously tradition and different things like that, but I think that teams that are capable of having spending power to improve their squad, you know, I think that's how I would sort of more judge it. You know, there's a lot of things being quoted in the papers recently in terms of Ipswich bidding like 3, 4, 5 million for certain players. So I think that shows the stature of the clubs also coming up, but equally the clubs coming down, you know, because I think that's one of the rare times where 3 teams that are coming down, none of them were promoted the season before. So that's really unusual for the Championship. So yeah, it looks as if it's going to be a challenging league, but I think it feels that way every year.
You'll come up against different styles of play throughout the season. Is that a challenge that you relish?
Yeah, but I think that's a Championship for you every year. You know, I think that there'll be more teams, I think, sort of playing an expansive style, I reckon, by the teams that are coming up and down, because I think that that's what the fans and the club will demand. So yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's really going to be an exciting season in the Championship. I think the saturation of fixtures in December, I think, make it really interesting. And I always believe over that Christmas period, December, January, that's where the biggest and strongest squads that's where they sort of step up to the mark, because it's hard for any team, if you're only working with sort of 12, 13, 14 players that you feel can make that difference, can consistently churn these sort of games out over that period. So yeah, we've got work to do obviously in terms of getting ourselves to that point.
What are your hopes and aspirations for the new season?
I think for the last sort of 4 or 5 years as a club, we've certainly underachieved. You know, we've never finished above 15, so we certainly want to improve on that. I think that we want to try and be in the top half of the division, pushing towards that top end, and obviously if you do get a bit of momentum, you do hit a bit of rhythm, you get guys who are playing well and performing, then I think anything's capable of happening in any Championship season. I think at the start of last year, if you said that Luton would be promoted, I didn't think anybody would have probably said that, because there was big clubs there, you know, and Luton, to be fair to them, they hadn't spent a huge deal of money, albeit they'd sort of built that squad over 3-4 seasons. But I think it just shows what can be achieved if you do hit the right sort of rhythm and all the wee bits and pieces sort of work in your favour.
You'll hope to achieve your objectives with the new look squad. Can you just provide a little bit of an update on how recruitment's going at the moment? Yeah,
well, we've done a lot of recruitment on and off the pitch. You know, I think we've needed a bit of a reset in terms of what we are and where we're going and what we're trying to do. I think that this season, in comparison to the last 2 seasons, obviously we've been signing a lot of free transfers, a lot of loans, and I think the loans in particular have made it feel quite temporary, rather than this is our team and this is what it's going to look like for the next few seasons and this is how we're going to grow. I think we've got an opportunity, hopefully, in this window to put a few foundations in place that hopefully will be beneficial for the club going forward. So yeah, it's been my busiest summer by a mile, because people know we're in the market, they know we want to recruit players. But to this point, obviously, what happens is everybody puts a premium on their players, because no teams are back. There's no time sort of sensitivity on getting any transfers done at the moment. So we need to make sure that the money we do have, that we use it wisely. So I do anticipate that we'll have players in obviously before pre-season starts, which we'd love to do. We've put numerous offers in on players in terms of trying to recruit them to the club, and numerous offers into clubs to try and get players out. And yeah, we're just going to have to see how that goes. I do believe on Monday, when I think a lot of the Championship clubs are back, that things will certainly ramp up, and we'll get to a conclusion on some of those sort of options pretty quickly.
Has patience been required to kind of hopefully get the players at the right price?
Yeah, because, well, listen, ideally for me, I'm not going to lie, I would want everybody in the first day of pre-season doing their pre-season. The difficulty you've got for a start is any international players generally won't come back to probably when we go on tour, which is about the 10th. So they'll need an extended break because they're still been playing throughout the summer. So that's the first thing. But also, obviously, getting deals done and getting people in the building can be challenging. Do you know what I mean? There's no doubts about that, because everybody right now, like I say, because we're not close to the season and nobody's feeling any sort of pressure to get back in and get pre-season done, then everybody's wanting top dollar, you know, and we've got to make sure that our sort of pounds stretch as much as they can, really.
When you're recruiting players, are you recruiting them on the basis of how you want to play next season?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think that you'll see a certain profile that we'll bring to the club that I think will be suited to how we would like to play going forward.
We saw in those March performances how strong the team can be. How do you go about making sure you get those performances on a consistent basis next season? I think, well, you've got to make sure that the squad obviously is as strong as it can be. That we've got guys who, even if they're not starting, can come in and have a real impact in the team. Also, I think it's important that we keep people fit and available, so that's crucial. You know, I think towards the end of the season, obviously that little sort of purple patch we had, I think Axel had played 3 or 4 games in the bounce at that spell. He then fell off, didn't really play at the end of the season. We lost Ben Wilmot when we were playing really well. We lost Jacob Brown towards the end of the season, which sort of hindered us. So I think it's having enough sort of strength and depth, but also making sure that we're signing robust players that we feel can take the rigours of the Championship. And finally, what's your message to the supporters as we build up towards the new season?
I just be patient at the moment in terms of signings. I think that obviously we want to be as competitive as we possibly can be next season, and yeah, let's hope that we can hit the ground running. There's a lot of optimism, certainly in the home games, because we know that that's an element we need to improve. But I'm really looking forward to this season. It's a big challenge for everyone, and we'll certainly be stronger together if we can get going.